Microsoft Power BI meets Xero was a meeting on the 2nd of March 2017 between two different Meetup groups, the Brisbane Cloud Accountants and Advisors and the Queensland Power BI User group. Heather Smith is an Australian-born chartered certified accountant, writer, speaker and small business consultant with many Xero books to her name. Sonia Cuff is co-founder of a technology consultancy company called The Missing Chair. Sonia applies her 10 years of corporate systems experience to the small business space, and this year was awarded as a Microsoft MVP for her work educating people about Office 365. Bryden of Tetra Quark is a highly experienced business intelligence and data analytics practitioner. Craig currently holds a Microsoft Certified Solutions Expert Business Intelligence certification and was previously a Microsoft Certified Trainer. With thanks to our sponsors for the event.
My name's Heather Smith. I'm a Xero advisor. I also wrote Xero for Dummies. I think I've written six books in the Xero series, so I know Xero to a granular level. I'm also a chartered accountant by trade, so I'm just going to give you a quick overview of Xero. How many of you know Xero? Okay, really good number here, okay? So essentially, Xero is a core accounting solution. It's a simple core accounting solution that has all the functionality you would expect of a small to medium-sized business accounting solution. And what, as you are perhaps aware of, it's got this wonderful API that's very open that a lot of solutions can come in and plug into. So we talk to lots of solutions, commercial property solutions, bills and expense solutions, and also sort of Power BI that will plug in and do further functionality, inventory management solutions, payroll solutions that you require. What I wanted to do was highlight to you, so you're aware sort of what reporting was available within Xero. As you come from a Power BI world, so you understand it's all driven by dashboards. So this is the home dashboard, and you can see, look, you know, this is quite exciting for us accountants. We've got color, we've got graphs appearing here, and we're really trying to orientate our clients to look at this. All our bank accounts, you can put all your bank accounts on the dashboard. You can put account watch lists on the dashboard. You can put some KPIs on the dashboard. Invoices owed, and as I scroll down the screen, invoices owed to you, bills you need to pay, everything that you see there that's hyperlinked, you drill down and get more detail, which is very exciting. I wanted to then jump in here to show you our reporting area. The reports area, if you have used it, so I'm showing you, look, do you need to go to BI? What do you have in reports? This is the new Xero reports area. It has evolved about 3 times over the time. So if you are speaking with a client, make sure they're on the new Xero report area. I will highlight one thing. These stars mean that report appears on the drop-down menu, but in the evolution, they haven't starred the new reports. See that? It's not starred. So a lot of people, I feel, are still using the old reports because they appear on that drop-down bar there. So if you are working with someone, make sure they're onto the new reports. When you go into them, there's a certain amount of functionality in there. I can do a certain amount of report customization within there and settings options. So you can see here on the right, I have report settings options, looking at on a cash and accruals basis, showing decimals. This line here is about tracking. Within Xero, you have something similar to perhaps jobs called tracking. It's quite simple. You have 2 tracking categories with unlimited tracking options, okay? And I do have down the bottom here, down the bottom on the left-hand side, the ability to edit that layout, move the chart of accounts around, okay? In Xero, if any of you are familiar with MYOB or desktop solutions, in Xero, everything is fluid. So if you want something at a point in time unchanged by anyone else coming along, you have to come in and you have to actually publish the document. So here it's saying export, print PDF, Excel spreadsheets, or coming over here, you actually publish it. And there's a whole area for anything that's published. It's tagged with the name of the person who has published that document. So I'm sort of giving you a high-level quick overview of what you can do in reporting. It is quite good for simple businesses, okay? But we're looking at Power BI when we want more information. I'm popping over here and I just want to show you business performance, because I think a lot of people are unaware that this exists as well. What this is little ratios. There's about 20 of them that are sitting in there. And if you put a star beside them, they'll actually appear on that home dashboard. They're all common ratios that you would use. However, when it came to this, they became American-centric and they put up American ratios rather than perhaps ones that we're familiar with. We very much follow, I studied accounting in England, and we very much follow sort of an English tradition in sort of the ratio movement there. Okay, and I just wanted to highlight one more thing. If you are in here, yeah, you have about 25, 30 reports that you can work with and customize. So hopefully that's given you a quick overview of what data you can get out of Xero. Do you have any quick questions for me? Yes?
So can you just show us how to get that business?
Yeah, okay, so that's the difficult thing. So click here on reports. Okay, reports, all reports. Because the thing is, I've done this to a granular detail because I wrote the book. But what happens is, I come in here, I can't see it. You actually cannot see it. You have to come up here and go, business, and there it appears. So that's my top tip. Whenever you're using Xero reports, put the name of whatever you want to try and find there, because you just can't see the reports. They tell me they've put in hot dogs, these little things. That's what they told me they were. And they hide everything. Yeah, they just hide everything, and I don't understand why, but anyway, it's so everyone can use it on an iPad, because we want everything designed so we can use it on an iPad. So that's my section done. Yes?
So obviously this is the cloud-based accounting?
Yes, it is cloud-based.
So how much knowledge do you need to know to migrate from MyOp to this?
If you understand accounting,
yeah.
A conversion service will do it for you.
So there you have conversion service that
Yes.
follows format, export
Yes.
from MyOp.
Yeah, conversion service will do it for you overnight.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about Power BI now and try and give you the really 10,000-foot view of Power BI and the different components and how it all fits together. So this is a nice diagram which I take no credit for. It's publicly available and has been made available by Microsoft, so we can use it. So what we're looking at here is the Power BI and how it fits into, or how everything fits into it and where it fits into the Azure services. So what you'll notice is, yeah, we have this big yellow square, which is the Power BI service. This is a service that sits up in the Azure cloud, and you get free and pro licenses for it. There's a lot you can do with the free license, so please don't feel scared to go and try it out. You do need, well, you don't have to have Office 365, but if you have Office 365, it integrates seamlessly with that, single sign-on, all that good stuff that Azure brings along for that. So within the Power BI service, we have dashboards, reports, and data sets. I'll demonstrate this for you in a short time. But what's really important is that Microsoft has built the data gateway, which allows you to suck information from your corporate network straight into Power BI, and it can refresh as desired. And so you don't have to put all your data up in the cloud. If you have a massive data warehouse, or maybe just some files sitting on a network somewhere that you want to bring up there, the data gateway can actually facilitate that data moving through for you. So just to show you, we also have the Power BI desktop, which I'm also going to focus on very shortly. Now the desktop is an authoring tool effectively. Yes, you can use it as an actual proper reporting tool, but it is not an enterprise grade reporting tool. So within your companies, you probably want to ultimately be using the service, but the people creating the content would use Power BI desktop to do so. So there's a few differences between the tools. So Power BI desktop has very good capabilities at manipulating data, allowing you to mash up data, create very rich data sets for people to use then for their reporting. You can't do all that mashup with the data in the Power BI service. So if you're doing some kind of complicated combinations of data or putting things together like that, or you have a lot of calculations that you need to do, you need to start off with the Power BI desktop and create your data models from there, maybe some basic reports, and then you publish that to Power BI service, which is where all the dashboarding and the real bling comes in. But the underlying power or the initial sort of data manipulation is done in Power BI desktop. Most of the capabilities in Power BI desktop are also actually available in Excel 2016 now. So you can also just use it in Excel. The same manipulation of data is there, but you obviously don't have the same reporting and dashboard capabilities within Excel. Okay, so I'm not going to spend any more time on that slide. I'm actually going to go and show you guys some things. So I'm going to start off with Power BI desktop, because logically that's where you would start, and then you move on to the cloud. So this is a desktop tool which you install. It's absolutely free of charge. And when you start it up, it brings up this nice wizard which has some really interesting links on what's recently been added. Just for interest's sake, Microsoft is adding new features to both the Power BI desktop and the service on actually weekly, but they publish the Power BI desktop once a month with new features. The Power BI service can have features added weekly. And they do. So it's a very rapidly evolving product. If you've got a 6-month-old version of Power BI desktop, you don't know what you're missing. Okay, so given that it's free, it's also very easy to keep up to date. There's forums, there's blogs, and there's tutorials. So that's a good place to start if you know absolutely nothing about it. So just to show you sort of some of the data wrangling features within this, when I click Get Data, it brings up a list of all the different data sources, and this is one of the real powers of Power BI, is the amount of different data sources that it is already able to handle, and they keep adding to this list. So just to give you a bit of a flavor, just on files, you've got all the expected file formats, your text, XML, JSON, so file, SharePoint folders, all your traditional databases, and they're catering for all of the mainstream ones there. You've got your Azure services, Azure SQL database, and HD Insights, and so on. And then online services, and this is really an amazing list. When you look down the list, you've got Dynamics 365, you've got Facebook, you've got Salesforce, MailChimp, and the list just keeps going. And then you've got other, and you can actually just scrape information off the web, like for those developers in the room, HTML pages actually can have tables of data embedded within them. This will go off to that web page that you've given it and actually scrape those tables of data off and make them available for you. This is a spreadsheet of ARMS exports by country since the 1960s that has been made available. This is from a service that makes public data available worldwide. They're a worldwide organization. And so it's quite an interesting data set in that it's a typical spreadsheet, and you've got years going along in columns and the countries down the middle. So for those of you who have done traditional data wrangling, you'll know that this immediately poses some problems for a computer to be able to consume this in a nice, easy way. So what I'm going to go do is go back here, get data, and we're going to go with web. So paste that URL in, and what Power BI is doing right now is going off to that website and actually reading the HTML code on the website. And yeah, connect. And it's actually picking up that data that's in that spreadsheet. So obviously this experience is going to be different depending on whether you're connecting to a database or to web pages, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so well, that is interesting. This was working perfectly this morning, but anyway, hopefully I'm going to get away with it. So it's gone and found this table of data, and there's some, you can multi-select columns. And remember, I'm doing all of this without writing any code. It's sort of Excel-like. So I'm going to just say, okay, remove these columns, We can see that the headers, it didn't realize that those were headers. It's treating them as the rows of data. So we'll just say use the first rows as headers. And now we want the years to be, we want to normalize this data set so that it's more user friendly. So just right click over here and say unpivot other columns. And then immediately we have the year and the value as rows. So we can rename this to year, make this exports, and maybe call this country. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to go much further, but you can see how quickly I took what was a spreadsheet type format with dirty columns, no headers, and converted it with a few clicks of my mouse to something very usable. So once you've finished, and you can keep doing other things. So while I'm in here, you can do, there's transformations on the fields, you can change the data types, you can do formatting, you can convert text to all uppercase or lowercase, or you can split strings based on delimiters. Anything you can think that you'd want to do to data to make it more usable for you, you can do in here. And the user interface means that 99% of those things can be done without writing a single line of code. Okay, so the power has been put in everyone's hands. You don't need to be a programmer to use this tool. And you can add custom columns and formulas and all kinds of things, and statistical functions are built in there. And once you finish, it goes and brings the data into an environment where you can start doing reporting on that. So in the interest of time, I'm going to show you one that I've baked before. So at this point, this is actually the same data set, just with a lot more having happened to it in another demo that I do. What I'm showing you here is you can create relationships, so you can pull in multiple data sources and actually create relationships. So that's the whole thing about combining data from disparate sources and making it useful. Yeah, you can actually see the queries that you've got. So you can actually see that I've got 3 different data sets that are related to each other in this. And then here is where you actually create your reporting. So this is where we build our reports, and you can see that we got a whole bunch of different visualization types. These are the ones that come out of the box. They've recently, it's interesting, we seem to be, they've added ArcGIS maps in the latest release, so which isn't showing up here, but either way, you can also get custom visualizations. You can build your own. So Microsoft has made these visualizations using a technology called D3J, which is open source, and a whole bunch of people are used to doing graphic type designing, know this language, and you can create your own visualizations. All right. Now, the nice thing is once this data is in, you can start clicking, and as you'll see over the night, just by clicking on things within context, it filters all the other visualizations as well. And all kinds of interesting things happen with that. So that's Power BI Desktop, and that's what it basically allows you to do, is get data, manipulate it, create interesting data models, and then start your reporting from here and actually create a whole bunch of reports. So you'll notice that I've got more than one page in my reports here. This is the Power BI service. So you sign into this, as I said, with your Office 365 credentials, and you have something similar. So you notice data sets, which is what we had created in the Power BI Desktop, and all of that would appear here if I had published that report to Sonia's instance. You've got your reports, and you've got your, but they're very hard to manipulate in this environment. That's where you want to use the Power BI Desktop to manipulate that. But once you have them, you can just keep adding more reports based on the same data and keep adding more dashboards. So to show you what typical reports look like, let's have a look at the human resources sample. So this is a sample provided by Microsoft. And what we have here is a report with 4 pages in it. So we got new hires, active separations, and so on. But anyway, the content isn't what I want to get across to you tonight. I want to more talk about the features that are available to you here. So as I said, when you click on something in Power BI, everything else on that particular page reacts to it if you've built your report that way, and that's how it behaves out of the box. And you can just keep adding as many reports reports and pages as you like. So, and you can obviously design certain pages to be optimized for mobile devices like phones. And then what Power BI Service gives you that you don't get in the desktop is dashboards. And this is really where the executives get really excited, because as I have all of these reports here, I might decide that I like this particular visualization, and I can just pin that to one of my dashboards, and it even asks me where do I want to pin it to, an existing dashboard or a new one. And so the end user is in control of what they see. They're no longer dependent on, your executives are no longer dependent on IT people providing them a dashboard that they like. They can actually go and create their own. And it's really, really, really easy. So to show you just an example of some of the dashboards that are there, and I'll stick with the human resources example. So this is a combination of visualizations from those other reports. So you may have a CEO who's interested in one particular visualization that's around human resources data, but he's also interested in something from finance. He can actually combine all of those things onto one dashboard or create multiple dashboards, whatever makes him happy. From here, we can do a bunch of things. So Power BI Service, what does it give you that desktop doesn't? You can publish to web from here. So if you have data that you don't mind sharing with the world, and you maybe a public, a government organization that wants to get a particular dashboard or report out there to the public, you can actually, and this is for reports actually, you can, when you're looking at a report, you can publish that to the web. Be aware that anyone who finds it can view it. There is no security around that. But that's as simple as clicking publish to web. It creates this thing that you can send an email to people with a link, or even just embed something in your existing website. So you can have it as embedded in an iframe on a website. And in preview right now is export to PowerPoint. Works really well, and it's interactive. So the way you've seen these reports being interactive on the web, people can click on them in the PowerPoint, and it does the same thing. And there's a whole bunch of other preview features that are also coming down the line. There's, in fact, just recently released is the ability to embed it into SharePoint. Okay, so it's still up there in Power BI, and SharePoint is just basically a way to expose it. There's, you can subscribe to get updates. So when the data in a particular report changes, once a day it'll send you a notification that there's been changes, so users can subscribe themselves to that sort of thing. Also, what I hadn't mentioned, which is really important, is that you can now share across organizations. So if you can actually invite someone from a different Office 365 tenant to share a dashboard or a report with you. So you can actually give access to other people. So when you click Get Data, you are offered various options. You can still get some file data, connect to your databases. These options aren't nearly as rich as it is in the Power BI desktop, and you don't have the opportunity to go and do all the data wrangling that I was showing you. But the thing that we are to look at really tonight is about the services content packs. So when you click on that, you get provided a list which is growing all the time, obviously, as organizations or Microsoft decides to build content packs for various things. But you'll notice we're seeing some big names there: Google Analytics, Salesforce, all kinds of things. And then right here near the bottom, we have got, on the next page, we will have Xero. Okay, so that's what we're here to talk about tonight. But so obviously you need an account with the relevant service provider. So you must have a subscription to one of these services. With these content packs, you get data sets, reports, and dashboards that have been predefined for you. And the data sets are predefined by the developer of the content pack, and you can't change it. You can go and change the reports, you can change the dashboards. You cannot make the data give you something that they haven't done for you there. You can't add calculations to it. You can't do that. So you're kind of at their mercy, which to me is currently one of the things I'd like to see them change about the content packs, but unfortunately that's the case. And you can obviously create new reports and new dashboards using that data, and demonstrate that now, well, shortly. So for me, that's the intro to Power BI. Before Sonia shows us more about the Xero integration, are there any questions? Yes.
When you publish to web, is that static publish or is it dynamic?
It's dynamic. It's just completely public. So you got to, and there's no way. Everyone says, "Well, how do I make it secure?" You can't. It's not intended to be secure.
Thanks, Craig. And you actually left me in the perfect spot to take over for my demo. So, as Craig mentioned, there are quite a few sources in here in terms of packs. We mentioned Xero, Google Analytics is another one, and for the Xero users in the room, if any of you use Stripe for payments, there's actually a connector pack for Stripe as well. So to connect Xero into Power BI, it's as simple as going to powerbi.com and registering for a free account. If you've already got an Office 365 subscription, use your login email address and the account that you use when you log into Office 365, and that'll just connect everything together, and I'll show you that in a second. When you're in Power BI, it's that big yellow Get Data down the bottom that Craig clicked on, and as we said, we'll go and find the Xero pack and we'll get it now. So it's going to ask me for an organization nickname. I'm going to call it 03 just because I can. Okay, the authentication method is going to come up, and there's actually nothing to choose from in this drop-down list. So you don't need to make any changes or remember any weird settings. We just need to tell it that we want to sign in. So here is a list of all of the organisations that I've got access to under my Xero login credentials. One little trick that I'll tell you is I'm going to choose one here that I don't have connected, but you see in this list I actually had the demo company. Now the demo company is a set of data that Xero provides that is sample data for people to have a play with. If you've got a Xero account or a Xero trial, you can get access and have a play with the settings in the demo company. That demo company in that drop-down list can fall off. So if you haven't been into the demo company for a while, but you want to connect it up to Power BI to see what Power BI can do with some data, if you don't see demo company in that drop-down list, all you need to do is log into a browser and log into Xero again, and just reselect in your organization list to go back into demo company and have a look at it. That'll be enough to prompt this to remember that demo company is one of your organizations. So if you haven't used it, I don't know what the time limit is, but sometimes it falls off and you can't find it in the Power BI list. I'll just keep one up and go allow access. So I've previously connected some accounts to this. I've actually got two-factor authentication turned on for Xero. So when I use Xero normally, it asks me for my two-factor authentication authenticator code, just another way of securing my account that I highly recommend if you've got financial data in the cloud with any service. But I've already connected up some other data sources and put in that 2FA code, so it's not going to prompt me on this machine again for that. So as we can see down the bottom, if we go to the data sets down here, see how I've got some of these little zeros that are showing with this little star next to them? That's the new thing that I've connected. That's the new data set that we just connected. And if I click on that, right now it's not going to do a heck of a lot. It will start to feed in the data, but that can take some time to pull all that data through. So don't do this and expect you'll see the reports in 5 minutes. It's probably actually a good idea to connect your data the day before you need it, just to let it do its thing, and then that'll come right. Because it's put a default of Xero there, I can click on this little open menu and I can rename, or else I'm going to have everything looking like Xero. And I can connect more than one organisation. So if I look after multiple different organisations through Xero for different customers, or if I have different companies, I can connect as many of those as I like using the Connect pack within this one Power BI set, and I can rename them just so that I know what's what. So that's it. That's as hard as it is. Get data, find your service, put in your login, and connect your organisation. What we get by default is actually a pretty comprehensive set of reports. So if we go to the dashboard tiles, these are the dashboard tiles These are the dashboard tiles for the demo company out of the Xero Connector Pack. So you can see that we've got several different types of data displaying on these dashboards. The daily cash flow over the last 30 days is giving us a nice graph. The closing balance here is a list of accounts, obviously, and their closing balances. Over here, we've got some nice big bold figures, cash in last 30 days, for example. Just a list of the URL links to click on to go straight into Xero to have a look at what those action items are. And then if we scroll down a little bit more, we've got more graphs. We've got a few percentage, expenses versus growth, type percentages, and a whole ton more graphs. So there's actually quite a bit of comprehensive detail as standard. So if I bring up the reports section, and as Craig said, we've got a big set of standard reports that we get already as well. So that cash report, as we said, is dynamic. If I can just click on February, then the graphics will change to just show me the February things, for example. And yeah, you can export to PowerPoint. You can export things like this. So this particular table in here where we've got some figures, we can click on here and we can just export this particular set of data to Excel if we just want to play with the figures and the labels that are in that table. Or if we click up here, we've actually got an Analyze in Excel option. Now, Analyze in Excel will take a bunch of that data and put it into an Excel format where you can manipulate around with pivot tables. I don't know if anyone's a big pivot tables fan in the room. If you're good with pivot tables, you are somewhat of a magician in my mind, but that's how you can get the data out and play with it in pivot tables if that's your thing. If we go and have a look at our Customers tab, so, you know, we've got some mapping in here. We can click in and zoom around and try and find out where all our customers are if we want to go and visit them, for example. We've also got information about suppliers, which is a very similar layout to our customers. We've got some inventory information, which is pulling out all the cool things that our company is selling if we are using the inventory part of Xero. And then some more financial data. So our balance sheet, profit and loss, and again, these are interactive if we want to click on them. There is a performance section as well. The graphs look pretty cool. It'll be interesting to see those performance health reports compared to what's in the Xero dashboards natively. And then some pretty graphs that mean more to accountants than they do to me. So that is the standard set of reports you get. As we said, you can create your own and edit them as well. Back in the dashboards, we do have somewhat of a natural language query. So up here where it says ask a question about your data, I can click on here and it's going to give me some examples or some suggestions. So I might have a look at invoices overdue. It's going to prompt me as I go for what I might be looking for. But if I just have a look at, say, invoices overdue by contact, that's going to automatically, dynamically create a report just based on a few things that I've typed in there to try and ask me. Now, sometimes it's a little bit of hit and miss. It's not 100% bang on what you type in is what you're going to get. So it's a little bit of fiddling around. And again, it also depends on whether or not the connector is actually relating in the connector pack and how that's been built too. But it's fun to have a bit of a play with. So get into that Q&A, that ask a question of your data and see what you can find out. There's some other hidden gems that I'm going to show you as well. Let me see, cash in might be the best one to do. So cash in the last 30 days, that's sitting there as a nice number. That's obviously pulled the information from Xero. If I click on, is it the hot dog? I'm going to call it a hot dog now, the 3 dots. If I click on the 3 dots, open menu, I've got another little bunch of icons here. And this one, the light bulb, is going to give me what we call related insights. So related insights is really good at analysing your data to find correlations in there that you wouldn't necessarily have thought to ask for. So in our cash in 30 days, for example, if we click on, what have we got in here? Cash in by name. Most of the cash in our last 30 days has gone into our business bank account. What a surprise. Nice correlation there. It obviously works, but that one's not particularly very useful. This one here might be a little bit more useful though. So this one, for example, actually shows me which of the customers have contributed the most to my cash in within the last 30 days. So that's a nice little example. And a lot of those tiles had that little quick insights on it, so you can go in and have a bit of a play with that. Now this is absolutely my favorite magic trick, and it's only just come online. Microsoft Flow, if you haven't heard about it, is a product for taking a trigger from one system and doing an action in another system. If you've played around with it in the consumer space, there are two very popular tools. One's called Zapier, the other one's called If This Then That. They are very popular because they support a significant number of services. Microsoft Flow is definitely more designed for business use and products in the Microsoft stack. Now, it does support some products outside of Microsoft stuff, and I will show you that in a minute. But because it is Microsoft's answer, it connects with Power BI. And I'll show you this in action. So let's pick a scenario that's actually going to be useful. Outstanding receivables. Okay, if you're not an accountant, a very high outstanding receivables number is bad, because that means all the people that owe you money haven't paid you yet. Okay, so we really like to keep outstanding receivables as low as we can so that we get the cash in as quickly as possible. And if you're not an accountant, you know that getting the money in as quickly as possible is a good thing. But that just sits there as a number right now. So let's do a little bit of magic with our outstanding receivables. What we're going to do is we're going to click on the open menu dots, or the hot dog, and we've got a little alarm bell that pops up on that tile for managing alerts. I'm going to click on that and add an alert rule. Now, what I want to do for this is I want to set an alert to tell me when my accounts receivable, or actually my outstanding receivable, because if I get the terminology wrong, the accountants will yell at me. Tell me when our outstanding receivables is over $5,000. So I'm setting the rule that that particular title is going to be above $5,000. Now, I can set the notification frequency to be at most once an hour or every 24 hours. I'm quite happy just receiving that once a day. I get enough emails that I don't need to hear that hourly, and this data set refreshes every 24 hours anyway. So we'll save that to 24 hours. I don't want it to send me an email as well for this particular alert, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm going to go and save that alert. Now, the way that Microsoft Flow works, I do actually need to save it and go back in. Now that I've got that alert in there, I've got this lovely little sentence down the bottom that says you use Microsoft Flow to trigger additional actions. Flow.microsoft.com is also a free product and is also connecting into your Office 365 account. So here's our little recipe from Flow using Power BI. One of the great things that Flow has that the consumer services don't have is the level of complexity that you can drill into with conditions and alerts and what it can spin off to do. It's actually quite complex on how you can build it to branch out into different things. I won't confuse you too much today, but I will put a little bit of complexity in it. So if I click on the drop-down list, it's going to load any alerts that we have that we'd set up in Power BI. And I'm going to create a new step. When I create a new step, I get a choice to add an action or add a condition. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a condition. Because even though the alert says that my outstanding receivables have gone over 5K, I want to set it so that if the value of that tile is actually greater than or equal to 20,000, then I want it to do something special. And it's going to bring up a list of all the services that it can do something in. Okay, in this case, if it goes over $20,000, I'm going to use Outlook to send an email. And because I've started typing a name that's already in my organisation, because I've logged in with my Office 365 account, it's bringing up a list of other people in my organisation that I can send an email to. I could type in any email in there if I wanted to, but it's handy just to pick up the ones from the organisations. I can put in a subject. And not only can I put in a subject, but I can actually add a dynamic condition to the subject. So when this email sends, it's going to send Tony an email to say outstanding receivables is whatever the value is that's triggered on this condition. And then in the bottom of the body of the email, I'm actually going to put a link to the tile inside Power BI. So if Tony has access to that and he logs in with his account, he'll be able to go straight to that tile in Power BI and drill down into the detail of why that happened. Advanced options give me things like CCing or BCCing other people and making it a high priority, for example. So they're just a couple of options there. So at the moment, how we've got it set up is Power BI is going to ding an alert within Power BI itself if our outstanding receivables go over $5,000. With Microsoft Flow, when that alert dings, it's going to check and see whether or not that amount is over $20,000, and if it is, it's going to send Tony an email, tell him the value, and send him a link to have a look at it. If it's not, so if this condition isn't true, it's not over $20,000, but we've still hit that 5K alert, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to put a different action on here. And what I'm going to do, let's find Wunderlist. Okay. I'm going to go and create a task in Wunderlist. And it's going to load all of the different lists that I currently have in my Wunderlist system. So I'm going to put a task in there into Wunderlist. So this will happen if we're between the 5 and the 20K. Tony, you'll get an email if it's over. As I said, there are more actions and conditions I could add. I could actually get it to do both, or, you know, it's kind of infinitely scalable what I wanted to get it to do. But that's just a nice real world example. And Gmail, I think Google Sheets is also supported. So if you don't use Office 365, you can use Flow to pump into those Google services as well. I'll click on create and Flow will do that in the background. So the only other thing that I wanted to show you while I was here was I mentioned a couple of times about the Office 365 integration. You can see that on this tab here, I'm in Flow. If I click on, this is called the waffle. This is actually the official term for the little squares in the corner. This is the waffle. We're learning new things tonight. And it's taking me to my admin. So that is, I'm actually in Office 365 if I'm in Flow or I'm in Power BI because I'm using the same login. So I have my Outlook email, my calendar, my OneDrive for Business, all of the things that I use as part of using my normal mail and calendar in Office 365 are all there, and Power BI is an icon and Flow is an icon in there as well. So that just shows you how they really are all integrated. Save and close.
You actually use Delve in your organisation?
I have Delve on my tenant. Delve actually did help me the other day. Delve is a great tool for surfacing information regardless of where it's stored. So Delve is like a search engine within your Office 365 tenant. If I want to look for something and I can't remember whether or not I saved it in OneDrive, I had it in an email attachment, I had it in SharePoint, maybe it was in Tony's mail file, Delve will search across all of the information sources that I have access to for the thing that I'm looking for. It's a very cool little powerful search tool when you use it.
Sonia showed you that you have, with the connector pack, you've got the data sets, reports, and dashboards. So One of the things that you can do is you can actually edit these edit the reports. So if I go back into the demo report we were looking at, you'll notice there's an edit report function. And so you don't have to only have what they've given you. You can change these things. So you can click edit report. It takes you into a very familiar look. Well, if you've done this before, the familiar looking report editor, you can remove things, you can change them, you can change the default filters, you can add things. You can duplicate a page. So let's say you're happy with this one, but you just want to make a minor change without losing this. You duplicate it, and you now have a duplicate of it, and you can go and create your own stuff and just save that, and then it's available to your whole organization. And you can also start a completely brand new report. If you click on any of your data sets, it gives you, and I'm just going to say don't save that change, gives you a blank canvas. All right, so now we are sitting with a blank reporting canvas, and we have all the tables that Xero Connector Pack makes available to you. So, or the content pack. As I mentioned, unfortunately, we can't edit this. We cannot change this, which is unfortunate, but and it may change down the line, but right now that's where we are. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to show you everything I wanted to, but I'm just going to show you very basically how you'd use this data that Xero is providing to create a new visualization. So I'm going to use the trial balance data set that is available from Xero. And when you want to create a new visualization in Power BI, you can start in two ways. You can either drop a visualization on and then start editing it, or you can actually just start by selecting some data. So I'm going to take the month-end field, click that. Now, what it's doing now is it's trying to figure out, well, that field is just a date. It's not doing anything for it at this stage. So we can now either go and change the actual visualization now, or we can keep adding data. Yeah. So yeah, look, I mean, obviously there's still a lot of features people are asking for in Power BI. So you know, Microsoft is focused on that. They've got a very big community where they allow us to propose new features. People can actually go and vote on that. So the community votes, and the more votes a feature gets, the more they'll look at it. And they're actually really good with Power BI about actually listening to the community and giving us what we're asking for. So, and that's what's driving this monthly release cycle of theirs. All right, well, thank you all for coming. And for those who are going to be attending Power BI User Group, we'll be back here same time next month. Thank you.